Rama.
Yeah, Chris, we've got Chris Payne in the house. Everybody, we're gonna get started in a few minutes. We usually let the room fill up before we start drawing. But yeah, Chris, actually, I was gonna tell you, Chris, ever since you gave your talk to our students, you mentioned Scotch and BLTs, and
Yeah.
me and Gianna have been on a BLT kick.
Oh,
Good for
BLTs
you.
are awesome.
Yeah, like it's gotten out of hand.
Try one with some cheeses and put some gorgonzola in it too, a little gorgonzola cheese. And you don't have to do a lot. Don't have to do a lot.
For a brief moment,
that was our dinner last night, Timmy.
Yeah, it's been my dinner a lot lately. It started out as a Scotch and BLT kick, and that only has so much runway.
It's also delicious if you do like a fried green tomato.
BLTs are, in my opinion, maybe the most underrated sandwich. Yeah. So that's the wildest thing you'll hear tonight. We're gonna get going. I was gonna say, if Salacuse came in right during that, I'd try to close it out as fast as possible.
All right.
All right.
We're here. Welcome, everybody. Tonight is our second round with the negative collection. And there'll be one more for sure. Just incredible imagery. Matthew Salacuse has allowed us to steal, or to, I shouldn't say steal, use images that actually he's found. And it's an amazing collection of him going out to these flea markets, sales, and finding negatives and purchasing the negatives, and the imagery that he's found on them is unbelievable. So first up tonight is Blue Mitchell, famous trumpet player. Beautiful shot. Second, woman with a flowered hat. I don't know. I couldn't find an official title, so I put a title to it. Killer photograph. I love that face. I would want to paint that. It's just gorgeous. And then the great artist, abstract expressionist, Franz Klein, which I wonder who shot that photo. I mean, I really thought about it for a long time. It's like, is that another artist? Is that, did Theopolis or Joan Brown or somebody from that genre shoot that photograph?
Did you see that he paired that with the Annie Leibovitz shot?
No, I didn't. Explain that.
Well, Annie Leibovitz also took a portrait of Klein, and they just paired them. Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't catch that.
He's photographed by some greats.
So is this photograph as good as Annie Leibovitz's?
This one is less Leibovitzy.
Yeah. This is very candid.
Annie Leibovitz, you can see it. You can see Annie Leibovitz from a mile away in his.
Great. Yeah. And then the last shot is a 1940s gal on farm.
I love this one.
Gets a sunburn. So you have your option. The first two are 20-minute poses. The third pose is a 40-minute pose. You can do either this image or the Franz Klein, or do them both. If you're new to us, we do those three poses, and then in between, please post your work to hashtag illustration isolation. And thank you so much again, Matthew Salacuse, for doing this. And Matthew was so kind to drop in last week, and very entertaining. You never know, he might show up tonight. There's a couple more lurking. I'm looking at my text. We have one of our artists putting putting their child to bed right now. We'll be here in 2 minutes. So we're all set to go.
All right, everybody. I just dropped a link to the photo reference in the chat. I am also going to drop an invite to our Discord server. So if you do want to join us on Discord, you want to be part of a bit more of an active conversation, feel free to join us there. It's a really cool, supportive community. I really enjoy it. It's active all week. And it is also where we are hosting our contest. This has been a big decision. I know a lot of people have heard us talk about it, but we are going to change the name to this show. We're going to try to change it in 2023. We are doing a call for entry to suggest name changes. We are not going to have a contest to decide the name we go with. We just need help coming up with a new name. If I were to give some tips, if your name has the word illustration or draw in it, we have probably already thought of it, or we're just kind of steering away from it. So not to not submit them, but it's that's a saturated market right there. But that being said, we are going to whoever finds the name for us, we're going to buy you a negative collection print. This is not a contest. Negative collection is not involved. I feel like I need to say that. We are just purchasing it from them. And so, yeah, it's like kind of a fun little reward. I'm not going to call it a prize.
I love Timmy's circuitous route around legal issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. I have not been so lucky in my life, but Timmy, very well done. Always looking out for us. I apologize. I know Chris is here. I know Cassandra's here. I know there's a few more that are going to show up, and I'm going to do a lot of watching on the first pose. So I started with the second. I started with the one I wanted to draw the most. I apologize. But I got some other things I have to do while we're doing this tonight. So Chris, welcome.
Yes,
I'm just going to kind of introduce everybody. Chris Payne, I'll introduce you first because you came in the room first. I've been teaching with Chris for 27, 28 years. One of the came the very first year at the Illustration Academy. I actually met Chris Payne when I was 14 years old. And he came to visit my dad's studio. Unbelievably amazing that I have a long-term relationship, professional relationship with Chris. And I say that because he is iconic as an American illustrator. And I just want, I'm gonna just let the audience know, if you don't know, do yourself a favor and Google Chris. Absolutely spectacular artist.
Legend.
A legend, iconic, has done everything, pretty much everything you can do as an illustrator. He's garnered all the top awards, including Hall of Fame award at the Society of Illustrators, the Hamilton King Award, the educational, what's the right term, Chris, the Society of Illustrators.
I think they just call it like educator.
Educator of the Year. And he just has done it all. And so, Chris, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
Cassandra Loomis, Kim, past Illustration Academy student, had Chris as an instructor, and all the other cohorts of Gary Kelly,
Anita
Koontz, Mark English. I don't know everybody that was there that year. I mean, I know that Brent Watkinson, George Pratt hadn't started teaching with us yet, but he was there.
Sterling was like assistant,
Sterling, it was his first year teaching with us. Yeah.
and then Greg Spolenka.
Greg Spolenka
Wow, great.
was a great group. And actually think that did Manchester come at that? He came to
We saw him at the
lecture portion.
conference, the Icon conference, but he wasn't there.
I think he came to I don't know if it was that year that he came to and did a lecture for us, did a presentation during the lecture week. I also think that was Francis Livingston's first venture into it also. So anyway, Cassandra's done everything right. Developed as an illustrator, worked in a corporate environment with Trader Joe's as an artist, which I'm not sure how that works, but had a huge benefit from it. And that went on for almost 10 years, didn't it, Cassandra?
Oh, like 14. I just never walked away.
And now has developed, Cassandra has developed a really amazing gallery career. In fact, so much so, I just invited her to teach our first incarnation of our gallery program with FAT. She is leading the class. I'm going to be there as a support mechanism for Cassandra. And we're going to try to demystify how the gallery industry works and help people develop in that direction. So Cassandra, thank you very much for being here. You're just absolutely amazing. The work that you do is, let's put it this way. I have options. I asked you because you're the right person to do it.
I'm so honored. I'm so excited to get to work with y'all.
So, so now let's, I'm babbling, but I'm going to start with, since we're talking with Cassandra, what are you working with tonight?
I am working with acrylic on cardboard that I treated with GAC 100, which is just like a clear acrylic primer so that the paint doesn't get sucked into the cardboard.
And I can see a very nice simplified silhouette in that kind of warm gray on that lovely color. The color of your substrate is very similar to mine.
Yes.
That midtone. And I love working into the midtones like that. In fact, that's actually a question I have for you. I have my own answer to it, but tell me the advantages of doing that, Cassandra.
Well, you're not fighting the extremes when you're working on a pure white like sheet or like board or base. Like you kind of have to work to bring just like a base tone in. Right now it's all mid-tones, so I just feel like it's a nice way to build something up that way.
Wouldn't you say that a lot of the lifting is done because the midtone's already there? You can use midtone. And
if I put a blob of white down, that white is going to like just shine just as the black is, because I'm not fighting that extreme of the background.
And so, you know, I notice you're not like going after the darkest darks right away. You're kind of putting I don't know, maybe an 80%. Do you? In fact, I'm saying more than I should. Just tell me how you're approaching this.
Yeah, just to have a safe beginning. Like I've mixed up two grays here. This is my base gray I started with, and then this is just a little bit darker. And I keep them really close together because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm seeing in the figure. First, I dropped the silhouette, and then from there, I'm kind of building just basic like shapes of the shadow to lay out the figure. And then I'll take this color and do a slightly lighter versions, and then do the shapes of the highlights and build my form that way.
Very similar in the way that I approach is like, you know, my drawing here of Franz Klein, which I couldn't help but draw him. I start the same way. I get the overall shapes down. There is some variation, and then I pull it all together to achieve what Cassandra's actually achieving with that is, you know, grouping your values close together allows the shape to read as a silhouette. It doesn't break it up into a light side and a dark side. It's easier to see the silhouette that way. And then you work towards your darks and lights toward the end. At least I do.
Yeah, totally.
Very fun. How big of a board is that? Is it about 11, 12,
Yeah,
14.
yeah, this, I think it's 11.5 inches high and it's 7 across. Just because that's what came in the bottom of the bag that I,
Because
my
that's
baby.
what I found, right?
Yes, exactly.
Reclaimed substrate. I love it.
Yeah, we say upcycle to sound fancier, but really it's just making use of what would have been thrown away.
Or
I just like the usage of the term substrate.
yeah, I do
Yeah,
too.
substrate does sound fancy. You're right.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
As my dad used to say this all the time, you're drawing on a piece of cardboard.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I will add,
it's actually corrugated too.
yeah. I will add, the reason why John and I are doing the same technique is because John taught me this technique. I do want to point that out, that it came from learning from John.
I appreciate you giving me credit for that. I think you learn from others too, the same method. Chris.
Yes, sir.
What is your substrate tonight?
It's just your classic, Strathmore tone gray paper. And I am starting off with the color I like to always start off with, which is a Prismacolor pencil called Chestnut. It's a kind of a burgundy color, reddish. And I like to work that in, and because we're very much so the same reason that you guys use your glazed substrate, I'm just using the gray just to start off getting my drawings, and that I have my middle value. And then I'll start popping some lights out. And maybe later on, when I'm done with everything and we're all at home doing whatever we're doing, I may roll some paint on top of this and play around with it later on. If I like the drawing, if the drawing warrants me to go further, I'll do it.
That's well said. How do you make that determination? What is, give us some parameters on that. What qualifies as, do you mean, is it like this or just interest? What makes it that way, as what you say is a good drawing?
Well, again, what I try to do is I try to look at the shapes that I see in this picture and try to make them uniquely interesting. And so right now you can see I've already made some design choices where his body's smaller. I made his head bigger. By making his head bigger, that means I get to focus on his likeness more, not get overwhelmed by some of the other stuff. I also, for whatever reason, I think it's because George introduced me to Edward Tooney. I have a tendency to like to make hands bigger than they really are. I do that a lot with baseball players, and so I do that a lot with people too. His hands, there's a lot of emotion in how a hand looks. And I love his hand that's holding the cigarette, so I'm going to increase the scale of it a little bit. And if all of that stuff comes together, and I think the piece has what I call personality, that to me is it. And if you ask me what the definition of a good drawing is the lines that I put down look like they were intended to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Good explanation. Again, Chris is just, I've been exposed to great drawers most of my life, and Chris is a master, one of the best drawers I've ever seen. And has the ability to, if he wanted to copy something exactly, he could, but there's so much voice, there's so much of Chris in his drawing. And I would think that, what I'm searching for is not like an exact copy. I always want a likeness. I want it to feel like that, to be recognized as that person, but I want interest at the same time. And
Well, John, you gave me the best compliment ever, was when I did that drawing of your dad. And you said it looks more like my dad than my dad.
Yeah.
It does.
It really does.
Now, the one you did of me, not so much, but the And I'm just joking. Uh, it-
Oh, it was fun.
So, my father used to say, we're talking about him, he used to say all the time, he said, I'd much rather look at an interesting drawing than an accurate drawing
Absolutely.
and than a copy.
Mhm.
And interest, it's like, and gosh, I've been playing around with this a lot. I've played around with like projecting an outline or trying to just project where features go and then going back and drawing it. And I used to start a lot of drawings that way for illustration where I cannot do that. I cannot do that and do a really good drawing. And I started to come to the terms with it, like, starting this drawing. I worked on it about 20 or 30 minutes before we started tonight. And it is the analysis, me analyzing what I'm doing, where the interest comes. And some of it is struggle, some of it is my take on what I'm looking at. And just that practice of doing that is where all the interest comes in my drawing. A lot of it has to do with the line or the mark making that I use. I draw very large. This is a 28-inch tall piece of paper. This head, my hand is almost 10 inches from thumb to finger. And so it's his head is 18 to 20 inches tall. I do that. Chris said that, last time we were drawing together, he said, you do that because of the material you use, because you're using a big, chunky piece of pastel. It's not pointed at a draw on the side of it. But a lot of, Chris is, what he's doing is he uses distortion. Chris, you referred to it as the beginning of it is the gesture of the drawing, the gesture of the face, or
Gesture of the shape.
Yeah, of the whole figure, of getting that interesting shape, and then informing it. And you can, and it's great. You can see it in Chris's work that this gesture could be really wild and way out of whack from what the actual shape of the head is. But then he comes back and informs it accurately, and it makes it so believable. It's like, but I'm turning back and looking at the portrait of my father. His ear is, half the size of his head. It's huge, but it doesn't look out of place. Because it's so well informed.
Well, you remember that one drawing I showed you, and that's one I did not do that your dad.
That's why, because you're still alive. I know you didn't show it.
Yeah. Where I made him look like the shape of Alfred E. Newman. I kind of inherited the Alfred E. Newman shape to it, and I just remember Sterling very, very sharp warning: don't do this. Don't, it's like, don't do it. Just don't. And okay.
I loved it. You had the front tooth missing, which was great.
Knocked out the tooth. That was it. I still have that thumbnail somewhere.
I want it. Okay, I'm going to hold you the Dracula piece hostage until you find it.
Hey, you notice how I haven't even brought it up because I figured eventually I'll get it.
Yeah, I was waiting for Arnie to give me the thumbs up that it was at print. But he said that he told me the photography was really good. And I was concerned because I'm the one who shot it. Funny story. I was talking to Chris and I said, I had just spoken with Arnie Finner. Arnie Finner is the creator. Arnie and Kathy Finner, the creators of Spectrum Fantastical Art. And Arnie's doing a publication and he's using a lot of horror images, fantasy and horror images that were used as covers or just in the industry. And he asked for kind of one of my father's iconic images, was a painting he did of Dracula for the novel Bram Stoker's.
Oh yeah, that's a cool piece.
And I was telling Chris, it's like, I don't know where the hell it is. I'm looking around. and I said, I'm going through the appraisal of all his work, and it's not in there. I can't figure out who has it. And he starts giggling. And he said, it's hanging on my wall. And he had traded his Richard Nixon image, the quasi Richard Nixon / Steve Martin image.
Yeah, the for Rolling Stone.
Did for Rolling Stone, and he had chose. It turns out to be one of my. Chris has got good taste. He chose one of my favorite illustrations my dad ever did, and so
I just remember I told your dad, I really like that one. So please, I want something. I wanted, give me something really. And so he threw that in as one of the offers, and man, it was a slam dunk.
Wow.
I so wish I was around at that time for that conversation.
Well, but the piece I always.
Oh, the chicken lady.
Oh God, that piece will forever be.
Yeah. Well, I don't have it either. So.
I know. Damn. I know.
But the world has it. You can see it. You can look it up and see it online.
Yep. I just remember the first time I saw it at that when they had this little show when I went to the illustrators workshop that first year at Terrytown. There at a gallery, it stopped downstairs. Pete had his Mother Teresa, and and I just remember your dad had the chicken lady there, and it just wobbled your knees.
For anybody wondering, they're talking about Mark English, Don's dad, incredible illustrator. In addition, we also have a new guest in the room, Raymond Bonilla.
Hey, Ray.
Hey, Ray.
I'm here. I don't have the hey guys. Hey, thanks, Chris. Sorry I'm late. Chris, I wanted to say the reason why I was late because every night, is it true? And my wife made me promise that I tell you this, that every night my daughter insists that I read her Casey at the Bat.
All right. There you go.
See, my kids were obsessed with Macabre.
Oh, great.
Oh, Macabre.
Oh, it's a great one. Have you read that to your daughter yet?
Macabre? No, I've read her. I have Miss Mary Reporting, the Remarkable Farquhar McBride.
Those are all great.
Jackie Mitchell, the Strikeout Queen.
These are all
Brave
Harriet illustrated books that we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely add Macabre to the mix. It's delightful.
Okay.
And just to let you know, Farkle is now married.
You're kidding me.
That's my younger son, Evan.
Oh,
right.
congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hey, he's the one who moved back here to Cincinnati. He's now working at the Cincinnati Zoo. And loving
That's
it.
cool.
Wow.
This is wild, John. You're gonna love this. Cody Shank is drawing with us tonight.
Oh, Cody.
Cody says, hey, this is Cody from the Illustration Academy. Cody is one of my favorite students we've had go through the program.
We know Cody very well.
Yeah, Cody is the best. Also a great mimic.
I was gonna say he's got the right audience.
Yeah, he said, I learned so much from you and Chris. Great to listen to you guys discuss illustration, making art, and the stories. So awesome to have you here, Cody.
Cody, love to reconnect, man.
Oh man, that's a blast from the past.
Yes, it is a very good blast.
Yeah.
Does Cody have the chicken piece?
No, Cody was like a master imitator. It was so great. I love impersonation. I if I'm around somebody who does impersonations, I just start I treat them like a machine, like a jukebox, and I'm just like, okay, now do this.
And I totally appreciated that Cody never did me as an impersonation. So thank you very much, Cody.
Just not when you were in the room, probably.
Yeah, not that I saw it. Others that have, like Edward Kinsella,
Oh, God, Edwards.
he would light me on fire. I mean, it just I couldn't stand to watch it. I knew it was pretty dead on, but it's sometimes kind of painful to watch.
I get no respect from anyone.
Yeah.
And of course, his Gary Kelly is off the charts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best.
Timmy, you got to bring the soundboard too next time you guys do an on-site illustration academy. You should
Totally.
just have it
Dude,
during demos.
it's amazing how hard it is. Like you're just sitting there waiting, like crouched.
Like hovering over a button, just waiting to like
You're just
press
like,
it.
yeah, I feel like it's going in this direction. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be able to use this quote from Dumb and Dumber. And then,
You see this, Chris? You hear this? We're here trying to push our skills to the limit for everyone, but Timmy thinks he's doing all the work, really, because he's got a soundboard now.
I was like, oh, Chris is coming tonight. I'm gonna get a couple sounds for Chris. So I got a couple for Chris.
Well, you don't have to because Cody's here.
Yeah, I do have Cody in the crowd.
Tim, do you remember when you said you wanted me to post add a gripe someday?
Yeah, do you got a good gripe for us?
I do have a gripe.
Wait a second. Let me just.
Soundboards.
I bet he's got a sound for that.
Yeah.
Soundboards. Is your gripe soundboards, Chris?
This is going to be the intro to your deal. All right, Chris.
Perfect.
What's your gripe of the week?
Okay, so over time, generationally, there's always been like when you go into a parking lot, look and you see the trash people throw down. It wasn't that long ago. You'd walk into a parking lot, you always saw cigarette butts, right? Cigarettes everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But people aren't smoking like they used to. And so what's in the I swear to God, it seems like every day I go to the grocery store, I go someplace, and I open up the car door, go to the post office, and there down on the ground in the driveway is this.
Oh, you're right. I've seen those everywhere. You're so right.
Wait, let's see it, Chris. Let's see it one more time. Yeah. Yeah.
Just seeing these people pick their frickin' teeth and throw that crap in the streets. It's just disgusting.
You're right.
Well, the gum
I've
health is
seen
better,
so
Chris.
many
So
of those.
Yeah, but come on, there's a thing called a trash can.
That's really interesting. At least we've moved to more healthy trash. It's a healthier habit.
Still sticking crap out of your teeth and throwing it on the ground.
Chris is the Lewis Black of illustration.
But am I
that was
right?
a good one. Like I didn't expect such
You
a
nailed
visceral-
it, Chris.
visceral
You
reaction
nailed
from
it,
myself.
Chris.
Yeah. Chris, the bar is just going to continue to be raised every time you come now with your gripe.
Yes.
Okay, well, John, you're old enough to remember this. So when
Wait, we got two gripes?
yeah, so you're old, but you see, it's been a while since I've been in New York. So you can remember back in the day in the subway, you walk up and you look down in the subway and cigarette butts were everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then eventually you weren't allowed to smoke down there. And eventually what started showing up down there were AA batteries. This was because everybody at the time were walking around with Walkmen, and it was filled with AA batteries. You remember that?
Actually, I don't, but
I do, Chris. I definitely do.
Yeah. And then
I took the train every morning. So
yeah, and so now it's this kind of stuff, that you see. It's like the trash, goes through generational things. And like I said, it was cigarette butts, then it was AA batteries. Now it's the stuff you pick your teeth with.
Well, I will say from 2019 to 2021, it was also like plastic gloves and masks. I felt like that was the trash you saw everywhere.
Oh yeah, the face condoms were everywhere now.
Oh, hey, everybody.
Is that
Hey,
Bill
Bill.
Crow?
Yeah, we're into plastic masks and gloves and cigarette butts and crap on the subway. And
Got here just in time, Bill.
we got here just in time. It
I'm gonna
looks
close
Did
out.
you s-
That's the end of our pain gripes.
There you go.
you guys are doing some beautiful drawings. Everybody's drawing a different thing, so I'm not sure what pose we're on. So let me guess.
Actually,
we're
On that note, Bill,
Whoa.
we need to move on to the next pose. So everybody, please post your work to Instagram. I do have a workaround. We are going to be able to look at the art tonight because I'm going to borrow my wife's phone. So
Excellent
yeah.
solution.
please
Oh, because
post
you
it.
don't have a smartphone
Okay.
anymore.
All right, let me get it out. Okay, please post your work to Instagram with hashtag illustration isolation and at negative collection. Please tag at negative collection. It is really important to me that you tag at negative collection. Matthew's in the process. He's introduced us to a ton of photographers. He's got a couple of photographers he's going to introduce us to. And I just think that is having those special guests and kind of getting to meet people. I think it's really fun. So please tag them. If you're looking for a good Christmas present, buy a print from Negative Collection. It's really cool. I've already got one or two for Christmas presents, and they're awesome. So please post them.
And if you don't want that, you can always get a state bird.
Yeah,
I love your state birds.
Oh my God, they're so good.
Wait,
Well,
but for
they're
real,
They
Okay,
are
so
now
before you
all
guys
up.
start talking about it without any context.
I know,
let's-
I want to explain that. Chris has been working on state birds and really fascinating. Chris, I'll let you explain it, but it's great work. You need to check it out. But Chris, explain how it started and explain what they became.
Well, it just started off with wanting to do, I was doing a show where everything was to be in a square, the format. And I was doing a square chicken, and I said that chicken looks like the state of Ohio, the silhouette of the chicken. And eventually it morphed into doing cardinal. And then somebody said, can you do Illinois? And I did an Illinois cardinal in using the shape of the silhouette of the state of Illinois as the basis for the design of the cardinal, which then led to me doing a seagull in the shape of the state of Nevada, or rather Utah, because that's the state bird of Utah, which then led to a New Mexico road runner, which then led to eventually me saying, you know what, I wonder if I could do all the states. And so I have now completed all the states, and I put them up for sale in a limited edition print through a site that I work with who does prints of my work called G Clay Print. And so they're now available. And it's been fun.
And they're gorgeous.
And I'm
I
hoping.
never knew how many states had cardinals besides Virginia until you.
Yeah, and then there's also all the states that have the meadowlark, and a number of states have the mockingbird, and a handful of states has the goldfinch. And so, yeah, it's been a total gas to do. I mean, I've always loved birds ever since I was a little kid. I would collect books on birds, prints on birds, draw pictures of them all the time. And it's just amazing how this thing kind of all came together. And I've had nothing but fun with it.
Chris, where can those prints be purchased?
Yeah, you just go to my website, cfpaint.com, and they're limited edition. They'll all be signed. They're on beautiful paper by this company that does a great job for me. And they'll ship them out to you. As I say, limited edition of no more than 250. That's it. And they're done, they're done. And that's what we're doing.
So
Excellent.
that's awesome.
Chris, I gotta say, I love your talk for Studio Bridge.
Oh, thank you.
I loved seeing all the ways in which you work, but I also really appreciated your history of the use of visual reference, photo reference and such. I felt like you did a lot to sort of demystify
Yeah.
things.
Well, that was kind of the intent behind it. It's to try to convince people that we're not handing over some special trade secret. It's what everybody does.
Yeah, it was really great
Thank you,
to
Bill.
see. And
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
no, it was a pleasure.
I do that all the time for our incoming students at Hartford, because it's so critical for, you know, artists' success is being able to develop and good research.
Well, you know, the thing about it is that you tied in the idea of an artist coming up with a concept or coming up with an image and then using the reference to support the image.
Right.
Which I think a lot of students get backwards. They think in terms of coming up with a, you know, reference first and not the visual idea first.
Well, that was kind of my beef in the early days when people were kind of bemoaning stock illustration, was because I think a lot of times kids in schools would go to like a stock book of stock photography, and they'd be looking for something in that stock photo book and utilize that as the vehicle to develop an idea, where to me it's like start with a blank piece of paper and use your imagination.
Right, and that was really just so much fun to see and so good to see. That was really helpful. So
Tell your own story.
yeah.
So Ray, I've asked Chris and Cassandra, and you're next. Tell us what you started with. Tell us what you're doing.
Oh, I started, I'm painting with acrylics. I got a full color palette today. It's on a sketchbook, a watercolor sketchbook paper that I've primed with matte medium.
All right.
Ray, have you tried the ultra matte medium yet?
Yes, I did, because Ted Kinsella told me that's what you had used for your sketchbook. And then I bought your, I saw it in the demo in the documentary, and
Okay.
it grabs the colored pencil like so incredibly well. And just as well as like, I think that oh my goodness, now I'm blanking on the, I saw your talk, your demo talk. I was at Studio Bridge,
The
one
Sure
with
Guard.
the Sure Guard, yeah, because I used to buy Sure Guard in grad school in the photo store.
Yeah.
And the, you know, everyone would look at me like in the photo store like, why are you guys, you know, me and a couple of my buddies of mine, including Tyler Jacobson, we go to the photo store and buy this stuff. It's like, why all of a sudden all these, you know, we selling so much Sure Guard, you know, and it was because we learned it.
And I got it from a photo retoucher.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I worked at a studio agency in Akron, Ohio. And, you know, back in the days before digitally, you know, doing photo retouching with the computer, and this guy would use that stuff, and I watch him use it, and I'm going, holy smokes, and saw what it did. So I said, I wonder if I could use it with illustration. And oh man, it was like, this is the best. But of course, like I say, you got to be very careful, because man, that stuff, it was lacquer. You were blowing lacquer. So,
Yeah, I could see you, Chris, thinking, man, this stuff smells so good. How could that be? How could I bring this into my studio?
I'm going to be addicted to this stuff. This is going to be a good thing.
The problem was, I remember when working up the studio in Chicago, and I was really working on something, experimenting. I was spraying a lot of it. And I mean to tell you, I got by far probably the worst migraine headache I've ever had. And I mean, I literally thought about going to the emergency, because man, I thought I have a freaking stroke here. I mean, it just absolutely, I mean, you see white. I mean, your head hurts so bad. And I just said, okay, ventilation.
So kids, write it down. Sure Guard. It's the
yeah.
it's
Now,
the
you
thing.
can't, one of the nice things is you can't buy it anymore. It's not available. So you got to find other ways. You got to find other ways.
And there are other ways.
Oh yeah, and and one of them is utilizing the ultra matte medium.
Yeah,
it's not you know, it's not toxic.
Doesn't smell as good though, but it's
That's right.
yeah, it's definitely suitable.
Well, I remember Greg Spolenka, he used to use a lot of the spray varnish for in between layers, and then he was getting headaches and shakes and having all these problems. And so he switched to clear tape because of all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He would just put tape down and you could see, it was actually a big part of the look of his illustration. It was pretty nice. I
It
liked
was
it.
fascinating to watch.
Wow.
I'd never seen anybody work that way.
So Cassandra, the
Look
very first time I had that talk, that we even brought that up or anything like that was Greg Spolenka was watching Fred Ottness do a demonstration. And
Uh-huh.
Fred at the time was probably 70 and, was leaving the room to have a cigarette, and he and my father would go out and have cigarettes. They'd come back in and Fred just picked up a can of spray fix while he was doing his demonstration and sprayed something. And Greg, I thought Greg, was on the phone to the EPA, and he was so worried, he was so upset about it. And he said, Fred, that stuff is really dangerous and it could really harm you. And I just remember Fred's reaction, looking at him and saying, Greg, I'm 75 years old. I've been using this for like 30 years. And I'm not too worried about it at this point. Not the best message to a bunch of students, but
Life is short, kids.
but he certainly had, reacted to Greg that way. It was funny.
That's like the George Burns reaction, like everyone would, I remember there was like a whole, that phase when eggs were bad and bacon was bad and nobody should have it at all. And George Burns is like, I'm in my 90s and I have eggs and bacon every single day and then smoke a cigarette or a cigar.
Yeah.
Was it George? I saw a talk with George Pratt for those listening, and he had said that it was common for watercolor during watercolor demonstrations that the artist at the end would finish his demo and then drink the water. And I was like, wow.
Is there cadmium
So
colors
that's why they
in
all
there?
died.
that's not
frat
something you
boy.
should do.
That's such a frat boy, like drink the goldfish.
Totally.
Ugh.
Cadmium, like that stuff never leaves your or alizarin crimson. Like I remember reading like artists that lick their brushes and have the alizarin crimson, like that plus smoking is really a toxic combo.
Yeah, the human
I want
body.
to show like this is a Spolenka original. If you go to
Oh,
mine.
cool.
So I bought this from Greg. I bought this from Greg. Like you can see it's a gorgeous piece. But you can see that that's packaging tape, or whatever. I've had this thing for 20 some odd years, and
That's really tape. Oh my God.
Yeah,
really
it was
yeah,
wild.
I've got another one of this as well, but you can see like, and then this is like black
Duct tape.
tape on the back.
So-
Yeah, that's
So you use the tape as a varnish? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
you
Or
Like
what
he
was
would
it?
put a
tape it.
layer down and then
Mhm.
tape over it and then throw another layer down and just tape over it.
So what Greg would do is Greg would use the tape as it's a gorgeous piece. I mean, look at that. Greg would use the tape as his crystal clear. And then he would use, I think, matte medium or something else to give him a neutral surface. But when he needed to seal a layer, he would use the tape. And so Greg was like, at this point, I think Greg was working in acrylics, and then kind of his final layer was oils.
Mhm.
There you can see without the reflection so much.
Yeah, that's better.
His final layer was oils, which would give him kind of this glow thing, so painting like a dark yellowish color and then painting lights on top of it, and the color would bleed through. And a lot of times I think he just sealed things while they were still wet. I mean,
Yeah, that's what blew my mind. Everything was always wet.
I'm sure of it.
And then I always wondered how hard was it to get like photograph to be an illustration?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because obviously this is, it is what it is. I only have a single light, but it's much lighter on the screen than it is in person. I think all the extra light on it, but I've got this
That is
one.
the
and I've got-
craziest thing I've ever heard.
I know it's crazy, but
Wow.
but an alternative to that is using I used to use Dr. Martin dyes, and I loved the yellow ochre, and then I would paint white gesso on top of it, and it would bleed through, and you would get this wonderful thing, which was sort of akin to the same thing of like painting with oils. Like the oils, like painting wet into wet oils.
Kind
Okay,
of.
Bill,
Those pictures eventually disappear, don't they?
yeah, the Doc Martens are not,
You know,
they're not
Mine-
archival.
mine have not faded too badly, but they're also covered in layers of crystal clear and matte medium and stuff. So
Yeah. They're not just Doc Martens. They're
no, because the
Yeah.
Doc Martens themselves,
Yeah.
they're
So-
They've
that's
Yeah.
really nice to hear, Bill. So I appreciate you talking about what you used to do. Tell me about what you're doing right now.
Ooh,
Oh.
good transition.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so what I'm doing right now is I'm drawing in charcoal. You mean in this piece or in just
Yeah.
in general?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
no,
this piece-
what you're working on.
Yeah, so in this piece, I'm drawing in charcoal on a gray toned paper. And as you can see, I've outlined the shape, getting the large shapes of the body, the hand, his head. And now I'm going in, and I'm not worrying too much about being exact to the photo. I thought about where I placed him on the page. I wanted him kind of on the left side of the page. And now I'm just sort of adding darks in and some midtones in to establish some sense of form and getting into detail. But I'm keeping everything very, very loose.
so no packaging tape.
No packaging tape yet. But I'll tell you something you can do with packaging tape that's great. You can also do it with contact paper. Is you can take like shelving paper, like the kind of paper you use to line drawers. There's
Yeah.
a transparent one.
Yeah.
You take that and you can put it over a drawing. Let me grab something.
Chris, that's amazing.
And
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, nice, Chris.
take the drawing.
Thank you.
Here's the thing. You can take the drawing and use contact paper and lift the pencil drawing and then move it. And basically do like a Photoshop layer using contact paper.
Wow.
Packaging
Wow.
tape works as well, but the contact paper is larger in sheet, so you can do larger areas. So this is one drawing that's been moved and flipped and turned around. If you can see that. And that's just I don't know what that is, like a cardstock or something. But I found that that's a really fun way to transfer images and get some sense of movement to a piece.
You guys were talking about exposure. This is a silly question, but it is kind of, I think that there could be truth to it. Maybe it's an art history question, maybe a little silly. You guys were talking about exposure to the fumes and all the chemicals that come from the materials that artists use. Can you think of any artists that were exposed? Because I would imagine that has a compound interest on an artist's career, and as they get older, it adds up and it, affects them in different ways.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Are there-
Michelangelo went blind for a bit because paint kept dripping in his eyes, painting the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, so that's kind of I'm thinking of we've got
That's not big
The
enough. 'Cause Kenny wants something bigger.
contemporary.
No. That's totally, that's not, I'm not going for contemporary. I'm just saying, I'm thinking of like, is there an example of that where it's like, oh, he just got just the right amount of fumes and it really opened up his mind.
Oh,
Oh,
Like-
like a good way. Oh,
Like in a
Yeah,
good way.
like where you're like, wow, he got really, like he or she got like real crazy in that chapter, and then maybe it crescendoed, or is it just basically always result in like blindness and headaches?
well, I think Chris Payne's a great example. His work went nuts after that Sureguard came in. It was I'm
Chris
just
had
joking.
nothing until the sugar.
Okay, you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
That was pretty.
It got me started.
I thought you were going to suggest that people that have been harmed, very
Yeah.
great current John June Palikar had big struggles with it, right?
Well,
Big
you
struggles
know,
with
Really?
didn't Roberto Parada had?
Yeah,
he-
Roberto
Well,
Panalo,
that
yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
that's who I was thinking of. I'm sorry. I thank you, Chris, for correcting me.
What did they have struggles with? Just
the oil.
The oil that
Well, he was painting with
yeah.
Bestine as his thinner, and he was like in an apartment
gosh.
that he'd been painting for years, and he was painting in his closet because that was the only place that he could his painting studio. And well, a couple of years of that, all of a sudden, he got sick.
Isn't it amazing that like in comics, whenever like anything goes wrong with chemicals, it always results in this amazing power, but in real life, it just like gives you chronic pain. Like
It's more of a super bummer. Yeah.
yeah, super.
My father lost a feeling in his hands for like 6 months.
That's
That's right. Yeah.
For
I
getting
was
too much,
thinking about that.
getting
I
too
can't
much
imagine.
paint thinner on his hands.
I can't imagine. My mom got a hip surgery this week, and her feet, like she came out of surgery, everything went well, everybody, and
Oh, good.
she
Good luck,
came out of
Patty.
surgery, and yeah, she's our biggest listener, by the way. She comes out of surgery and she couldn't feel, can't feel her toes or move them, and I did not realize how much that freaks people out, and I can't imagine going 6 months without having feeling in your hands, John. Like,
Especially considering what he did.
Right.
100%. Was he,
Yeah,
was he like super anxious? What did he do during that 6 months?
it kept working. He just couldn't feel what he was
It was
doing.
just, it was just,
He would light a cigarette.
his work got better.
He would have somebody light a cigarette for him.
we've talked about this before. Those are the loose years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another example of the work improving, right?
Yeah.
Going to another level.
Well,
you
I don't
guys-
know if it's a reflection of the supplies he used, but when Monet was losing his vision, that's when his work got better.
Really? Yeah. I kind of had to squint more.
Oh,
Yeah,
his
like he was
his work
focusing
got
more
a-
on like the bigger shapes and
Wow.
the colors, and I feel like
It did
those were-
get
that was-
better. It got a lot better.
yeah, it was like his most interesting work.
He
That's
also was
amazing.
painting much larger too,
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
because he could afford to, and
that was just because of exposure to materials.
Oh, I'm not sure what caused
No.
it.
Yeah.
He was going blind.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
It's
and then-
amazing. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Cassandra.
Well, yeah, it like Matisse, his was I think due to arthritis, but he started using scissors, and that became like really interesting work because of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My mom's probably texting me now, mad about this.
Well, I hope she's
I think
healing up
it's-
quickly.
She's like, why did you mention that?
why are you talking about me?
Disclosing
You're
medical
Uh,
there.
information.
This is
A
actually,
quick recovery, Patty.
yeah,
Yeah, we all want to know that Patty's okay.
Yeah, seriously.
she's our listener. Yeah, she signed on with it. If my mom can make it tonight, I think some of you fair weather listeners can show up more often. No, man, this is actually really funny. We were at the doctor's office and we're waiting for everything. And I was like, my brother's kind of like, they're, the anesthesiologist comes in and everything. And my brothers are given like the 100 best hits of jokes that you just give to any situation where you're like, And in my head, because I listen to a lot of comedy, I'm like, this anesthesiologist has heard the "you got any for me" joke like a million times.
Right.
And I asked the anesthesiologist, I was like, how many times, like my little brother made a joke, and I go, how many times you heard that joke? And she was like, 1,000.
Yeah, you're just
And I
throwing
go,
your rhythm into
and
the
I
fire.
go, what's actually the funniest thing anybody's ever said? And she goes, somebody asked if they could keep their hip bone for their dog.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
Oh,
Yeah. So no,
No.
good recovery. Hopefully she's asleep right now and she missed it. So yeah.
Well, she'll find out when it's plastered all over Twitter.
Yeah.
Speaking of not using good art supplies, you guys ever seen that video where, with Marshall Ayersman and him painting with his hands with the mineral spirits and the
oh
paint?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm like, I saw
Yeah.
that and I was like going, dude, but he, what a great career, what a great long life. I mean, he was an absolute magician.
Apparently, I was told by secondhand that an artist that I know had asked him like, what do you do to like protect yourself? And he said that apparently Marshall would take baths with just he would fill up a tub with olive oil.
It was apple cinnamon. It was apple vinegar.
Oh,
Oh,
apple
yeah.
vinegar. That's it. Yeah, apple
Yeah,
vinegar.
apple vinegar.
And he would
Can you
just
imagine
would
olive oil
sit
though?
in it.
I've just imagined.
It started, he told me
Apple
that
vinegar.
he first started with the tomato juice.
Okay, but for real though, like the process of acquiring that much vinegar,
that's exactly what I was just figuring out. Like,
and then
how often would he do that?
you just got
Well, you would have to probably price it in the price of the painting, right? You just,
yeah, but then
I'm just joking.
consider this though. It's like, he was like, this apple vinegar budget is a little much. I bet if I just put like, they probably didn't have saran wrap then, right? So he was concerned, like reusing that bathtub of apple vinegar.
No, not Marshall. Marshall just passed away. He
Oh,
was,
you think it was a fresh batch of apple vinegar every time?
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, doubt it.
Who's fetching
could
the
probably
apple
ask.
vinegar? The apple
Man.
cider vinegar?
Marshall was a visionary, and I don't think, I mean, the way he made images, the way he tied in like some of his process from painting, he would reference Arthur Rackham and the way Arthur Rackham used pen and ink and watercolor in one of those demos he did. And he would reference Rembrandt. And how, as the light gets brighter, the paint gets thicker.
Right.
And so there was sort of a classic mode to his approach. There was something underneath it, I think.
And also mixed with like just pure punk rock. I mean,
Well, I think that, yeah, but I think also he was on a spiritual journey too.
oh yeah, for sure. But he was, he was part of that whole group. And I mean, like just a history of violence, the whole thing he did about guns. He that those drawings were just visceral. I mean, he's using spray paint and ink and
one hell of an artist.
But he talked
Yeah.
about that, Ray. I've seen I've never met him, but I've seen lots and lots of videos of him talking about that. And he made a really interesting point when he did the Time cover that was rejected, the one on the death penalty.
yeah.
And he's talking about it, and he says, the art director's like, listen, pal, you don't get it. Like or he said, listen, kid, you don't get it. When you do a photograph of a thing, people don't associate the artist with the thing. But when you do a painting of a thing, people are like, whoa, what's up with this guy? Why is he painting this?
Yeah.
dark style? And
You're right. Right.
and so I think, like, he did the guns, I think, because he knew something about that. Like, he was all about, like, paint something that you know something about.
Right.
And I think what that came out of was a desperation, because he's like, I think his original work, there's some article I have on him where he talks about his original work, and it was based a lot on what other illustrators were doing. I think some stuff on Rene Bouche and some other artists, and he was trying to find his own language, his own voice. And so he went to subject matter that he knew something about. And he's like, and I'm still painting the same subject matter like 40 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's one thing I was going to say was he did what a lot of great illustrators did, and that was he created his own self-authored projects, and that's what got him the work. It's well, like Chris, I mean, you're a classic example of that too. Like, you were getting jobs, but you always wanted to work with Fred Woodward, and you wanted to, you were doing all these jobs with these last minute things, but never got the big jobs from him. And then you went out of your way and you did your own piece. I remember I think it was the Long in the Saddle, right? Piece.
Tall in the Saddle.
Yeah, Tall in the Saddle. Yeah. And you saw that, and that's what changed his perception of you. And I think Marshall did the same thing with
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think the first picture I remember seeing of his that just really just knocked my socks off was that portrait he did of, oh crap, now who was that killer that was executed in Utah?
Gary Gilmore.
Yeah, the Gary Gilmore portrait.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
I think that was for Penthouse magazine, and it was just a stunner.
He did 3 of those. It was I think it was for Playboy. There were 3 of them.
Playboy or one of those.
I think it was for Playboy, but it was like, he did several of those. It was like a whole series.
Yeah, because it was a series of articles. It was like a 3-part article in the publication. I knew it was for one of the girly magazines.
Yeah.
Well, he was a great illustrator, a good painter, a great painter, and was influenced a tremendous amount of young artists.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, look up Marshall Ersman.
On that note, everybody, let's move on to the third and final pose. You have the option between the two. You can split them too, but we usually go long on this last pose. So you can choose the one you like the most and just run with it. Please post your work to Instagram. I just was messaging Matthew, and unfortunately he's not able to join tonight. He's on a shoot in Atlanta right now and just crazy busy. But I know he's going to be back for a future episode, and he is scoping out the work and loves it. So please tag at Negative Collection, and we'll get Matthew back in here another night. And we're going to move on. So that's hashtag illustration isolation and at Negative Collection. Please post, because we are going to check it out, because I'm going to go get my wife's phone soon.
Raymond, that is looking fantastic.
Looking awesome.
Oh, thanks.
So Raymond, the acrylic, do you ever do like, I'm asking a question I think I know the answer to, but I'm doing it for the audience purpose. So do you ever start with acrylics and then switch to oils, finish in oils?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. I'll push a painting if I feel like I really need to layer something and do a lot of layers quickly, and I'm just impatient and I want to see it immediate sort of feedback. I'll switch to acrylics, and then when I've tired of like the fact that they dry so fast, when that becomes more of a hindrance than being helpful, then I'll switch to oils. But sometimes I just stay in acrylics, and I'll finish pieces off in acrylics.
Yeah, don't be afraid to mix media, use mixed media. Different techniques, different approaches can be very, very effective. Putting materials together. Just, archivally, you just want to make sure you do the acrylic first.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Don't put oil,
Fat
acrylics on
over
top
lean.
of oils.
Yeah.
Fat over lean, yeah.
Fat
No,
over lean.
your dad did that, right? He would do that from time to time,
What? What
like
part
put
of it?
acrylics over like the Dracula piece of different illustration academy. He threw some like thin acrylics. Well, it was a thin oil.
It was
but
thin
it wasn't
oil.
anything thick,
Yeah,
you know?
he would blow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would even blow oil through a airbrush, thin it down, and
Whoa.
part of the reason he couldn't feel his hands for a long period of time. He definitely, wasn't afraid to use. He looked at everything. Not as a painter, but as an illustrator, he looked at the printed piece being the finish. If it held up until they photographed it and they scanned it and they printed it, he thought, he could make it out of anything. And then there are a lot of illustrators that did that.
Well, that's kind of the nature of, that's sort of almost going back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is the fact that illustrators, for the most part, saw the printed piece as the finished art, and that was it. I even think, if I'm not mistaken, Rockwell would gesso over an old canvas and then just paint over it.
Ugh,
And
Ugh,
other
that
people would
hurts.
do the same thing.
Yep. As if putting shellac over every layer of oil painting wasn't bad enough, But he would
Yeah.
he's old school, man. He came from the Depression, he was a really poor kid. So he didn't want to waste anything.
Ray, my father was like that. He would spend money on other things in his life, but art supplies was not one of them. I remember like working in the studio and grabbing a roll of masking tape and like pulling a piece of tape off, and he had like cut it with an X-Acto knife, so it came off in really thin little strips. And he's like, "You don't want to waste all the tape." I used to joke, towards later in his life that, he was selling paintings for a lot of money. And it's like, "Dad, I think you can go beyond $12 on your supplies on the you're selling."
Right? Oh God.
Like, "Oh no, you gotta keep the." His other thing, which was really great, which tied into that, he goes, even if finances wasn't an issue, he says, "I still don't want to feel precious about what I'm doing." He goes, "I want to feel like it's not important to me and I can just throw it out." And I think, man, what a great attitude to have as an artist. Don't get caught up into
Totally.
precious.
Right.
Yep, that's the whole point, like I talk about with the sketchbooks. Exactly the same thing. Yeah.
He said a good artist has a full trash can all the time.
Well, that must be doing something right, because sometimes that's all I see is the trash can, right? It's like
I would say you're doing a few things right, Ray.
There's a question that someone asked. How do you guys approach drawing noses?
Chris?
Well, noses for a long time was very hard. They were, as I've told people, I could draw feet, I could draw hands. I never had a problem with that. Noses was very difficult. So what I did was I found people who drew them well. I didn't look at their paintings, I looked at their drawings. So you guys are all kind of art historians. Who would be somebody that draws a nose well in their drawings? Rockwell, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nikolai Petchin,
A little bit, yeah,
Nikolai Petchin, Bob Peak,
yeah.
and so you look and you study people who draw them well. I remember there's a wonderful drawing by Pontormo of this guy from the 15th, 16th century, and just the nose is just stunning. And I drew, Ang's noses are just great. And so I studied them and I mimicked them. and I look at what they're doing. I look at, photographs of noses, and I see how they're rendering them. And then the stuff starts to make sense. So that's how I did it, by studying other people. And that's anything. If you have a problem with the value structure in your paintings, in your drawings, look at people who have great value structure. Frank Brangwyn, Robert Riggs, Mark English, people who have great drawings, and study theirs. If you have a hard time drawing hair, look at people who draw hair well. James Martin, my God, James Martin's hair is always,
Man,
yeah, I know he draws the
Yeah.
naked ladies, and that's great, but to me, it's the hair. It's the hair.
it's the hair. It's so well designed.
No, it's so true though.
It's
And you'll
it's-
develop past
go ahead.
that too. You'll develop once you'll start with somebody, and then you'll keep working, and eventually your voice is good. You can't get away from your own voice. So
No, eventually your stuff is going to come through. There's no doubt. You're absolutely right. Totally right.
yeah.
Didn't Marshall Aresman say like your style is a combination of what you can and cannot do?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I think, and again, something else I heard my father say before anybody else say it to me, and I've heard other artists say it since then. But the value of an artist learning how to library their experiences, how to use yourself as a library, as your own influence, is incredibly important. I think that's where voice comes from as an artist. The habit of drawing from memory, the habit of, not putting, when I say not doing a finish from memory, and everybody can draw it wherever they can take, however far they can take it from memory. Everybody has a cutoff at some point. Some people's that have very facilitated draw very well and can take something pretty far from memory, but everybody has a cutoff of when they actually have to see something. And when you see something, whether it be a photograph or a painting or whatever, you're influenced by it. You don't realize how much you're influenced by it. You take from it. When we're all drawing photo reference here, the photo reference is the most impactful thing from any of our art that we're doing right now, even though they might all be going different directions. But it's the thing that we're taking information from. If you can, and my dad used to say this a lot, was if you can learn to be that library, that you have to learn how to access your own experiences. And I think that's where, what you're ultimately doing as an artist is you're developing a voice, you're developing something that's uniquely yours, or trying to. It just makes sense to me when I heard him say that wow, that was really smart. It's hard to, it was, that was my father. It's like, Chris, I mean, did you listen to everything your father said? I mean, did you, argue with him sometime, or sometime say, oh, it's my dad, he doesn't know what he's talking about?
Oh, I am living proof of the old Mark Twain quote. When I was 15, my dad was an idiot. When I was 21, I was stunned how much he learned in 6 years.
Well, yeah, that it's like I thought that it's like, and I figured out it's like, wow, the more I learned, the better he got. And it's like, how was he getting so good? He was just already good, and I was too stupid to understand it.
It's also hard to see, right? I mean, like,
right?
yeah.
Pardon me,
And just
Ray?
like as an artist, well, it's just hard. Hindsight's 2020, and it's really just hard to see that when you're at a certain level. Like there's things that like Bill Mon and Craig Nelson and heck David Grove would tell me stuff, and I was like, okay, that sounds, I guess that sounds like something. And then and it wouldn't make sense until it was like 10, 15 years later, where you're like, oh, that's what he was talking about. I had no idea.
Well, that's how artists learn things, because you don't necessarily know something until you're capable of applying it.
Well,
And it's like when you all of a sudden you apply it, you're like, oh, that's what the hell they were talking about.
Well, that's exactly it. I still remember in my sophomore year of drawing, I'm in freshman year drawing, and at the time, teachers started capture the gesture of the figure. And I have no clue what the hell they're talking about. Gesture? What do you mean? Gesture? I know it, I just, and then one day, and I still have a slide of the drawing. It was a drawing I did, and I bet you I didn't spend more than 4 to 5 minutes on the drawing because there's no detail in the face, any of that. And it was when I did that drawing and I saw it, it was like, that's when it clicked. I mean, that's what they're talking about. And I'll oftentimes say, you're trying to explain something to somebody. It's like trying to describe the taste of vanilla. It's really hard to describe the taste of vanilla until you say, here, taste it. And then when they taste it, they go, okay, I get it. And that happens a lot in art until you actually physically do it, that moment, and that light bulb hits. That's when you get it. It happens a lot.
Yeah, the person that was asking about drawing the nose, it's like, it's just, you got to break it down into a shape just on its own. But, the biggest thing about drawing the nose is figuring out where it goes.
Yeah.
Put it in the right place. And, things kind of come together when you scale things and everything, kind of lands in the right spot. That's the reason I draw the way that I draw. But learning anything that I think that you learn as an artist, that you don't really completely understand it till you're capable of using it.
Yeah.
Well, oh yeah, absolutely. And don't you find too that like you do something over and over again, and then finally, like the 10th or 100th time you do it, something's different about that time, and it just kind of clicks in, and you're not even thinking about it so much.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah.
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 When you think about it
then
too much, you think about it too much, you start freezing.
Yeah.
You freeze up.
Someone asked a question about, you'd mentioned like doing work for, not you particularly doing Playboy, but like other illustrators working for Playboy. And they reference it as like the more salacious, racy magazines. And I think I can kind of bunt this question at the start, because they ask because I know a lot about the writing history of those magazines. They said, like, was doing illustrations for those magazines any different than doing work for regular mags? And I would just to preface this as a topic, those magazines have dramatically changed from what they were 50 plus years ago. And they were actually a source of a lot of really interesting creative work and writing. I'm not saying,
and in artwork too.
But I just, before I finish, Bill, wait. And I just want to say, I'm not saying that they were good or that bad things didn't happen related to them or things like that, but they were perceived definitely differently. I'm not saying that they were like household names that were accepted and welcomed, but they were definitely embraced by what would you call it? The zeitgeist of art, where they embraced that really in a way. That was a major part of them.
All you have to do is look at movies from that time period and tell me that the world hasn't changed.
Right. And I don't want to make it about that so much, but I'm just saying, like, I understand somebody, like, if they wrote, like, I understand, like, a lot of the comedians that I follow, a couple writers that I know have like been featured in like modern contemporary Playboy, and they're like, yeah, it's complicated. And I think, I don't know, it seems like it would be less, like, I just remember, like, it was more, there was a restaurant that we would go to in Martin City, which is like way South Kansas City. And they used to say, like, voted by Playboy magazine, best steak in America. And it was like, they were voted by Playboy magazine, like, in the 70s. Like,
right.
Yeah. Like,
Well,
not
I
like,
think
It was more lifestyle.
you know.
It was more lifestyle, totally, right?
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
about the time that Playboy started, you know, and the culture, and how conservative the society was about sexuality,
Mhm.
and you know, something you don't talk about, sort of, and what sexuality was, and so then what that meant in context of that generation.
Yeah.
So it's a different, it's a
Uh-huh.
different ends and different means, I think, you know.
It's just super different. It's a
Yeah,
different.
and it is very different. We probably can't, explain that, except the only thing I'll say about it is, I mean, because we don't have to explain it or defend it or anything. It is.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
it
we're
was.
not in a situation, I
Yeah.
would say that, we're not in a situation where we need to. Yeah,
Yeah, and what it was though, was it was an incredible, it was a venue that had a lot of freedom for the illustrator.
Uh-huh.
There was a lot of freedom, and they purchased a lot of good artwork. They had a lot of good artwork.
John, that is the best way you said it. Yeah. They gave artists a lot of opportunity.
And
Right.
a lot of the work that was in it, like the stories, I mean, you had the Ian Fleming stories, the James Dickey's second book was serialized in it first. A lot, like any magazine, a lot of, like, Cosmopolitan was kind of the same deal, you know. Cosmopolitan used to be much more of a literary magazine
Right.
until Helen Gurley Brown took it over, and it became much more focused on women's cosmetics and
I'm not saying, like, we're not saying that they were like doing the Lord's work.
no,
Like,
but
I'm just saying, like, I'm just saying that, like, and it was probably, yeah.
but think about it, like, you know, you have like
You
art.
can probably shoot a million bullet holes in analyzing those organizations back then. I bet it would just be like Swiss cheese, but they're just so different now.
As a venue for writers and artists, you know, you had
Yeah.
all, you know, Samuel Beckett, you had George Orwell, you had, you know, James Dickey, you have Ian Fleming, you know, you have tons of writers who are getting a chance to have their work published before it ever sees book form. And finding an audience for it. So, I mean,
Chris, did you ever work for Art, Paul?
No, I didn't work for art. I only did I think one illustration, as I recall, for Playboy. I did a fair number for Penthouse. And I remember, you know, there was even, you know, the thing is, some of the magazines that you would call girly, even they went through changes. There was a certain point in time when Penthouse, and I think it was because of the fact that, for lack of a better word, but it was, porn was becoming really big on the internet. That's why a lot of those magazines went by the wayside. Why buy the magazine when you can get it for free on the internet? And so those magazines kind of went by the wayside. It wasn't just because of social mores and how people were expressing whatever it was. For gosh sake, Hefner's daughter was the publisher for a long time at Playboy.
right.
And so, but there was a period of time when Penthouse was really getting pretty raw, and I felt very uncomfortable and as a matter of fact, really kind of felt pretty good when they, I guess, kind of went their other way and they weren't calling me anymore, and it wasn't something I had to feel really bad. Oh, should I do this because I'm taking food off my kid's plate by not doing the work for them? But I felt okay at that point, because when they started to get pretty harsh, I felt pretty uncomfortable about it. But at the time I was doing it, again, it was usually articles that were, you know, it had nothing to do with sex or anything. It was usually a personality. Like I did a portrait of Goldberg, the wrestler. Remember, I did a story about
Yeah.
nuclear terrorism, you know, things like that. They were taking on subjects that had nothing to do with what the pictures were.
Yeah, like Hunter S. Thompson be writing like a
Right.
Right.
Well, that's what I was remembering, that Hunter and Thompson did a lot of work for them.
Yeah.
And they were doing a lot of the same stuff that Mother Jones would do, or Rolling Stone would take on,
Yeah.
And some of the best art directors, I mean, they were working with magazines that we mentioned Playboy and Penthouse. Well, they were working with the magazines that were a few rock layers below that.
Yeah, we don't.
And we're not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. I'm just simply saying, but they did exist.
Yeah.
I remember Barron telling us magazines that he was working for because he
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
get into Playboy. And
Oh,
he shows the work and you're just like, this is amazing and stunning illustration work. But
He did this coal miner painting that was for this magazine. That was one of those really low end ones.
yeah.
And I remember trying to find that magazine because I wanted that picture. And as a matter of fact, I remember there was a painting by Wilson McLean on the Philadelphia Flyers hockey team. It was just a killer painting. And this guy tells me, oh, it's in Penthouse such and such. And I go into some used magazine store and I say, yeah, I want to know, do you have Penthouse issue such and such? And of course, the guy looks at me like I'm a real creep. Of course, I buy the magazine. I tear out the Wilson McLean. It goes into my morgue file, and the magazine goes into the trash heap. But I mean, because they hired some amazing artists. When I was in college, actually went to Chicago and went to the offices of Playboy because I was told they had the collection of illustrations there, hanging in their offices.
Wow.
And they remember Gil Stone.
Very much
Yeah.
so.
Oh
yeah.
God, I love Gil Stone's work.
Silver Stone was amazing.
And I wanted to see some Gil Stone originals. But they said no, I couldn't come in.
Yeah. When you said you threw the
Yeah.
magazines in the trash, I assumed back then that everybody threw those magazines in the woods because that's where everybody I know ever found them. It was always a grade schooler being like, yeah, we found them in the woods.
Yeah, well, it should have been recycling, Chris. That's what I take away from that. That whole
Yeah, Chris.
story.
You're like, oh, I guess I have to toss these in the woods. That's
Threw it
that's
next to
what
the
we-
toothpicks.
Yeah, next to the
Yeah, right next to the tooth.
Yeah. Chris, I really do hope you return with gripes every time you come back. That would be perfect, and I'll get you a more official theme song.
Oh,
I feel like it needs to be like a Seinfeld sound.
Ray, were you here in time to hear the Chris gripe?
Yes,
Okay,
I was
yeah,
laughing, but I well, it didn't pick up because I realized, thank goodness, my mic was muted, because I was
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
I did not hear the Chris gripes. So.
Well, it's a new segment.
It
we
was
have. When Chris is here,
Incredible.
you have the Chris gripe.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the old man. I'm the curmudgeon.
But
yeah.
Chris, do you remember Omni Magazine?
Oh, sure.
I mean, Omni Magazine, like most of science fiction articles, weird shit, but just incredible illustrations. John Jude Palancar did a lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
well, and Omni was basically a science fiction magazine that was published by the same publishers of Penthouse. It was a
Exactly.
totally different magazine.
Oh,
It was
I
a
didn't know
totally different magazine, and you would see, I mean, guys like Roger Dean would be in there, and all these great science fiction people would have their artwork in there. And yeah, totally. But it was without question that they catered to the science fiction world with their writing. Isaac Asimov,
Mhm.
Robert Heinlein.
Wow.
Larry
all the-
Niven, all those guys, like it was a great vehicle for them.
Well, I mean, because you see, before, the magazines that you would have would be, those smaller publications like the Alfred Hitchcock magazine and the Ellery Queen magazines. Here, it was a large format, beautifully printed, beautifully designed. I remember Don Punchettes. You'd see Don Punchettes in
Oh
there.
yeah.
Remember Don?
Oh yeah.
Don Ivan Punches.
Yeah.
Here's a guy to look up.
We do mostly watercolor. if I'm
He
correct.
did acrylics mode and a lot of airbrush.
Yeah,
I mean, he was just a beast.
it was great.
He did some stuff for National Lampoon. Again, you want to talk about another magazine that would have a hard time being published today. Holy moly, some of the stuff National Lampoon would do today would be, they throw rocks at you.
Chris, I think my favorite, you saw, I'm assuming you probably saw the film about the magazine, right? Or have you not?
I've seen some things on Doug Kinney.
Oh yeah, you would dig it. They made a movie a few years, I think it was like in 2018. But the cover of their first cover, which was of the
dog.
the golden retriever with the gun,
Right.
and it said, "Buy this magazine." Or the dog wants it.
Yeah, buy this magazine or we'll shoot this dog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was nuts.
And the dog has this great facial expression.
Yeah,
It was one of those black and white kind of, sheepdogs.
yeah, I highly recommend that. That movie is really good.
Is that oh God. Is that Martin Mull in that, or is that?
I don't know.
I don't know whether Martin Mull wrote, but that was guys like P.G. O'Rourke wrote for them. Doug Kinney, what was his name? Michael. He was the guy. Remember on Saturday Night Live would come out and say, "I want to do an imitation of Michael Jackson with red hot pokers in his eyes," and he'd fall on the ground screaming. You don't remember that?
I remember. I can't think of his name.
That's hilarious.
That was a wild. That was just a wild time.
No, it was just crazy. It was crazy. And those were the guys, of course, who gave you, National Lampoon, Animal House.
Yeah.
Doug Kinney.
I read the book. Did you ever read the book that was like the autobiography of all of that?
I read the there was a great, speaking of another magazine, was kind of a men's magazine in the day, was Esquire. They had a great article on Doug Kinney.
Yeah. Wow, like all of the magazines have made amazing, like really none of it's like Rolling Stone now is so, it's so different than what it was. Like I was at my doctor the other day and I was like picking up like a print of Rolling Stone. And I was just like, this is like, feels like People magazine now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it was
Like
originally-
literally they have sections where it's like photos of celebrities leaving grocery stores.
Wow.
You just
They
like,
shop just like us.
yeah, it's not
No,
that, it's not that obvious, but like, it's just like, and then, but the difference is they have articles that I still think are well worth, like reading, like they have like interesting stuff, but yeah.
I mean, I think everything's a mix, like even women's magazines used to have a lot more fiction and a lot more
Oh yeah.
material that was relevant to the entire society, but they became kind of specialized. And
Right.
and I remember reading a Robert Weaver talk about Cosmo. He didn't have really good things to say about Helen Gurley Brown and what she did to that magazine, because it
Did he ever have anything good to say about
I'm gonna say, I don't know what
oh no, he had lots of good things, but I mean
man.
but just what it was to what it became. I mean, I think in a way it sort of had more redeeming qualities before she took it over.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
And I am like that, hearing that makes me nervous. Just knowing where the publication is now and knowing where magazines used to be. So I actually had a sound effect that's not working right now, but it was C3PO going, how did we get into this mess?
Yeah, I think we were talking about cool things that were that illustrators did in magazines, you know. But
Yeah.
I can bring it back. I mean, I was going to ask about,
Yeah.
you know, I saw all of this stuff after the fact, but it was Julian Allen's pieces on, you know, like the war and his like series
man.
on like famous fights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did that great series on, you know, great political affair type of things. He did that one great episode series on the Porfumo controversy in England. I mean, he was spectacular.
Even, do you remember his comic that I think was in Details magazine?
No, I don't remember his comic.
Oh my God, that thing was amazing, you know?
I mean, think of the stuff that was in Heavy Metal. My gosh, you know, some of the stuff in
Yeah.
Heavy Metal, there's no way they'd do that today.
Oh God, no. I mean, all of that stuff I saw in books like Innovators of American Illustration, you know.
Yeah.
That's where I was introduced to all of that stuff. So I didn't even
Some of
see it
it,
in actual print.
And that's where I got introduced to Mobius, was through Heavy Metal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Really surreal stuff too, you know, just,
But some of it was
Yeah.
quite graphic.
yes.
That's where
Which-
I love all that stuff.
Which, I mean, all you got to do is look at, you know, the boys to, I mean, they do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'm down with this, like, you can't do anything.
There was that's where I found, you know, National Lampoon is where I discovered Von Baudet.
Sorry, everybody's seeing down at my camera.
Von Baudet. Yeah, I saw his stuff in Epic.
Sorry about that, little technical glitch. I'm having to log on with the phone and it's a lot going on. a lot going on technically over here.
Hey, John, is this Arshel Gorky that we're drawing? Is that
Franz Klein.
Yeah, and I
Who
just
is
want to
that?
say,
Franz Klein.
Oh, Franz Klein. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to figure out who this is, you know, because that makes okay, that makes sense.
Timmy, did you have something you wanted to say, Timmy?
yeah, I just want to say it's almost 7:45, so I just want to remind everybody this is the 5-minute warning. So please start wrapping things up. We're gonna check out work on Instagram soon, and so if you're not technologically savvy, I honestly think you should start posting now.
All right, I'll start.
Yeah, John, get on it.
I did want to say that I'm glad you brought that up, Bill. This is one of the greatest painters that ever lived. This is an abstract expressionist, and you might look twice at him because this is an abstract expressionist that could draw and paint very representationally also.
He reminds me, his abstract work kind of reminds you a little bit of Robert Motherwell to some
Yeah,
degree.
very
Yeah.
much so.
The same, yeah. You know, I read that he did little thumbnail sketches on like Post-it note size paper before he would,
God,
I could see that.
you know.
I wonder how much that is now, if we can find one of those Post-its, you know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right?
Well, everybody, just a warning for tonight. It's a mess. I'm using Gianna's Instagram account. It's
Hi,
gonna be-
Gianna.
she's not here, Chris.
I think I do anyway.
No, she's
It's so bad Gianna didn't want to be in the room.
yeah.
At least I figured you had to ask for permission.
No, I just snagged the phone when she wasn't looking, and I told her, I said, nothing weird is gonna pop up on your Instagram, right? And she was like, you know, there might be some fitness videos and stuff. So anyways, just for John and I's sake, this is where I get legal. The whatever's shown on this phone does not represent Visual Arts Passage. It represents Gianna Procopio. Yeah, it's probably gonna be fine though. So
It sounds like you just threw her under the bus.
I'm really interested to see what constitutes Gianna's fitness videos.
yeah, a lot of like David
I'm
Beckham.
not gonna say it.
David Beckham.
It's a fitness video. I get it.
Yeah,
It's never gonna let you use your phone again.
Ronaldo, a lot of Ronaldo probably.
Yeah.
A lot, I mean, it's in theme with the current events.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I wonder how Ronaldo got his core so strong.
Guy keeps losing his shirt and he can't find it.
His
No.
shirts are so itchy, he just can't wear them anymore.
I'm going to work out.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no.
Started that, Timmy. I just want to make sure everyone knows that.
All right.
I gotta say, Grant's client's got such a great face, you know?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
It
and
was.
John, that looks phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know about that, but it's big.
It's awesome.
It's a nice nose, John. It's a nice nose.
When we were talking about
Yeah, that's a
when we were
very nice.
talking about Monet and his, losing his eyesight and his work getting bigger, and I'm looking around at the drawings on my, I'll change cameras. I'm looking around. Here we go. They just keep getting bigger.
That's awesome. But what a great wall, man. What a great
That
wall.
is awesome. So next week you gotta have like 24 by 36. Your camera will be like 6 feet from the canvas.
You're gonna have to have a stick about 60 inches long to do your drawing.
I'm just
Yeah,
waiting for you
man.
to
You should
show up
Bridgman
with
it,
like
John.
something, massive that is just like you draw with.
Yeah, well, Jenny Sevilla would say they're tiny.
Yeah.
Right.
Fine charcoal.
Somebody just asked, how can you concentrate, draw, and still talk?
We've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
What were you listening to? That was like an incoherent conversation we were having.
Yeah, like, yeah. There's a lot of times where like I've listened to the recordings and was like, this is bad content.
I got to respect it all.
Yeah.
Until they got that soundboard, then it all made sense.
Yeah, no.
Boy, Cassandra, that looks amazing.
Oh, thanks. I don't have the highlights on the flower right yet.
No, I like that. I think that,
You guys are all good.
I paint without my glasses on these days, and I need my glasses to see fine detail, but I look at them with my glasses and they don't look any better. So I'm just like, the glasses.
Well, I feel like you got it worked out. I think Ray did the one of this one. His turned out better. Ray, I like yours better.
Yes, I like yours better, Cassandra.
Ooh,
Oh, you
nice.
just
I like them
nice.
both. They're very different, but they're both terrific.
Yeah. John, I
Ray's-
love your Elvis. That's amazing.
Ray's had a very painterly. I'm not real fond of Elvis. I'm not the right person to draw Elvis.
Brent should be giving you a nice talk about Elvis.
Yeah. Oh, I don't dislike Elvis. I just it's just his look
No.
didn't fit my drawing very well.
I mean, Brent gave a whole lecture about Elvis at the Illustration Academy.
Of course he did.
Brent is so
He
interesting. I love
He
on
had
Brent.
a slideshow and everything.
Was it favorable?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. It was a great lecture. It was fascinating, but it was all about Elvis. It was very random.
Really? That's kind
Brent's
of
so interesting on his site. He's like, I do lots of different kinds of art, and he's got everything from like these incredible landscapes to these digital collages to drawings of drinks that are 2 feet
Yeah.
square.
He's doing big paintings of those now. He's represented the same gallery that carries me in Kansas City. It's been selling those recently.
That's
Oh, that's
fantastic.
awesome.
That's awesome.
Hey, everybody, start posting your work right now. The
Please
panelists.
post it. We want to see it.
Yeah, we want to see it. Definitely tag at Negative Collection and hashtag Illustration Isolation. Trust me, Matthew is checking it out. He wishes he could join. Believe it or not, he's a pretty big freaking deal. I just am blown away by the people he photographs regularly. If you don't know, this is his side hobby, which is insane.
It feels it's insulting to call it a hobby. It's a true talent, what he does, finding these negatives.
Well, I feel like it could be a museum show. Like it's
It could
fascinating.
be, it absolutely could be.
It
But
should
he is also like a world-renowned photographer, who photographs some of my favorite actors and comedians and musicians. And so I often think it's kind of surreal being like, wow, that's crazy that he showed up and hung out with us for like an hour and a half. So don't feel slighted or anything like that. He's going to come back. He's a big fan. Please tag at Negative Collection, please. And for real, if you buy a print, let me know, because we bought a couple prints, and let him know that you're a Academy or a illustration isolation person.
He'd love that.
He would
love that.
Yeah, please do that. Like, let him know. I know because I've purchased these prints that there's a little note section when you check out. Let him know. Yeah. Other than that, while we're
Timmy,
waiting,
I know
Yeah.
we haven't, you haven't said anything, but I'm gonna start the conversation and let you say what we need to say. But what are we doing with VAP right now? Are we enrolling?
I was like, are we doing something weird right now?
Yeah, we're enrolling.
The way you asked that, I was like, are we reinventing our
I didn't
business?
think it was that far of a stretch,
So
considering.
it was
what we
it,
talk
but-
I
about
totally
all
got
the-
where you're going, John. I saw where you're going
Oh
with it.
man, I'm sorry. My brain's just Swiss cheese right now. Yeah, everybody, we are enrolling. If you enjoyed this, if you're looking to take your art to another level, if you're trying to navigate, if you have the skill sets and you don't know where to take them, or you're having trouble finding opportunity, our program is a track. Any other program you go to that is an online art education, outside of like colleges and whatnot, you're gonna run across some great information, but very few, if any, offer to put you on a track where they guide you from point A to point Z, which is from being a student to developing your career. Like, our teachers are mentors, they are stewards to like every student that goes through our program. And so if you feel lost at all as an artist, this is, I am so proud of it as a top tier program for providing that compass to students. So if you're thinking about it, our classes start up in January. So that might seem far off, but we know for a fact, we were talking this morning, John, they're going to sell out, and they're going to sell out soon. So, so because we already have our sellout contingency plan out this morning. So please don't wait.
And your newest program is focused on gallery work, right?
Yep. Which I'm not going to open up the AI can of worms, but I am going to say this with confidence. If you are a successful gallery artist, AI is not going to hurt you. That is an incredible area to focus your artwork. If you are interested in that, you're in a great spot, because that is a tremendous thing. That is a tremendous area that really does rely on the human touch. And it has been funded by people who appreciate status and culture for a long time. And that is very much relies on human talent and human storytelling. So I think it's an amazing time for that. So.
Well done, Timmy.
Yes.
Did I pass the test, John?
Yeah, now back to our regular scheduled program.
Oh boy. Now I gotta open up Instagram on this phone. I haven't used an iPhone for 2 months. So
Oh God. Oh God.
I mean, I just imagine your phone's like the phone the kid on Diary of a Wimpy Kid had that had like a button for home and a button for emergency.
I don't know about that. I just know that I did. I didn't use a phone. I didn't look at news for 2 months. I didn't do any of that stuff for 2 months. And I turned it on and I was like, what happened with Kanye? It was awful. So
That's why he's so frazzled today. He's got his wife's phone. That's why.
All right. Oh, this is looking great.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at that top center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that whole row.
Yeah, really. Seriously. Damn.
One more refresh and then we're jumping in. That's awesome.
Oh, that's lovely. Great job. Cool,
Oh,
Xander.
That's
I
awesome.
really like the way that you handled that. Your shapes are
Me
fantastic.
too.
Oh, wow.
These are terrific.
Nice, Pete.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Oh, gosh, everyone's done amazing.
man.
We're not, this is my dad, I showed my dad Instagram for the first time. Where'd all these good artists come from?
It's like, oh shit.
Very nice.
Oh, nice.
These are wonderful. Great, that Peter, I didn't say anything. It was well done.
Ooh, that's
Wow,
nice.
look at that. That's what you should have done, right?
Wow. Oh, the texture.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Wonderful.
That's cool.
Could have
That's
done
really
that.
cool.
Sorry, I need like eight hands right now.
Nice.
Cool, Julian.
Nice.
Really,
Julie.
really
Wow.
nice.
God.
Really nice.
Whoa.
Oh, Peter.
Yeah, I should have done that too. Holy. Wow,
Really
that's
nice.
nice too.
Ooh, darn. Mm-hmm.
That's
There
fun.
you go.
Just
Good
saying,
job.
when I see posts that don't tag negative collection, I'm kind of judgy.
Oh, cool, Jeff.
That's great.
I wouldn't recognize it. It's on like a real piece of
I love
paper.
that.
It's actually in a sketchbook.
It's got a sketchbook. It's not
It's not a coffee
Not a
filter or
coffee-
rice
coffee
paper.
filter, whatever.
Really good.
Nice, Julie.
That's awesome.
Really nice, Julie.
Really lovely.
Ooh,
Oh, that's
nice.
fantastic.
There you
That's a
go.
beautiful painting.
Yes.
Should have done that.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
There's
That's
that.
really lovely.
Oh,
Man,
Oh, it's
Julian.
Julian.
Julian,
Yeah,
you
by the
have
way-
colors?
We're still assigning the likes, 4 likes per thing. So
Oh, well, you gotta
Oh,
give
that's
one to
right.
Julian for one of those. Yeah, I don't care
just
which
a,
Yeah.
just a heads up, all of these likes are coming from Gianna Procopio Instagram account, Macrame KC, where she sells macrame.
Yay.
Yeah, so
No, he's not here.
Ooh.
Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
Timmy, I
That
hope
is
she has
good.
2-factor.
I meant to get to that photo, and everyone's done amazing with it.
I'll just go ahead and tell you right
Yeah.
now, she does not have 2-factor.
Oh, that is
Whoa,
cool.
Ocean.
Oh, Ocean.
Oh,
Really
very nice.
cool.
It's a new direction, Ocean. I like that.
Yeah, Gianna's lack of security is a ongoing disagreement in our relationship.
Really nice.
I'll have to tell Gianna that
Yeah.
the security talk you and I had to have.
Good
Yeah,
drawing.
we had a pretty serious
Good
one, John.
drawing.
You had the same, John. You had the same talk that Gianna got.
Yeah, we've seen the sticky note with your passwords on your easel for like weeks.
Oh, that's
those are-
cool. Wake Tea's done some cool stuff.
These are
today.
great.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome.
thanks,
nice,
Sally.
Sally. Wow.
Oh, that's so nice.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
Gianna can hear me say her name when I do it. and
Look
she's
at
like,
that. Yeah.
Gary, always a slam dunk.
Nice.
That's wonderful.
Nice.
Yeah, can we thumbs down that? Can Gianna thumbs down that and just keep reporting?
I'll report it.
Oh, that was cool.
She'll be like,
Nice, Sienna.
I heard you mention me on the show tonight. I'll be like, you get your own show. And you-
Sally, that's great.
Very well done, Sally.
Beautiful. Oh, Gary.
Oh, I
Gary.
love
Wow,
that.
Gary.
Love that.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's.
Oh,
Look at
Ooh,
that.
Felicity.
Nice.
Should have done that. I can't do that.
Good job, Rebecca.
the talent.
Isn't that beautiful?
Really lovely.
You can't teach that.
Can't teach that. Whoa,
Oh,
look at
nice.
that.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's getting also a soundboard.
I love that it's like an envelope, the inside of an envelope, and like a page of a book. It's really cool. Really cool. The
So much-
textures that you played with there.
Just the thought in that. That's very nice too.
That is really
That's
nice.
great.
Oh,
Felicity.
Look at that.
You know, Felicity is the most recognizable artist in here.
Oh, I love that they have Juniper going too. It's Felicity's younger sister.
Juniper's coming in pretty
Wow.
fast, Jen.
Yeah.
Coming in strong. Good job,
Wow.
Juniper.
Matthew was holding
There's
up.
gonna be-
Wow.
There's gonna be some tension.
Yeah.
Matthew was holding up one of her drawings last week.
That was a great piece.
Ooh.
Nice, Marcy.
Well, I should, maybe I spoke too.
Oh,
Marcy's pretty
that's-
recognizable too.
Beautiful. I love
Yeah.
the wait, look at the horizon line of that one with the
That's-
sunburn. Like that's cool.
Yeah.
It's very
I
Heindel.
really like how you emphasize that.
Wow.
That's a heck of a compliment. Oh, I like that one too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's
Oh
great.
yeah.
Love it.
Good job.
You're awesome.
Nice, Jeff.
There it is, Jeff. Oh, I love that. That's a delicate drawing. I like that.
Mhm.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really good.
Wow.
Good
That one got a
job.
wow from you. We all heard Chris say, wow.
Oh yeah.
That needs to be
Yeah.
a soundbite right there.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah,
should
that needs
be
to be a
one.
soundbite.
Steal that.
That's finished. That's finished.
Wow.
art. That's finished art.
Ooh,
Oh,
Oh.
love, love.
Nice shapes.
Janice could be like.
Reminds me of
"Oh,
Esencios. Oh wow, look at that one.
That's cool.
man.
Nice, Sienna. Jeff, that's great.
Jeez.
Good
Oh,
job,
very
Karen.
Damn.
Ooh, Kathy, I love that.
Guy.
Look at that one.
Look at that.
Chris, I think somebody got into your account.
Oh, they hacked you, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna. Hey guys, don't accept any Bitcoin offers from Chris this week.
Chris or Gianna.
Oh, that's cool, Karen.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh, that's
Oh.
lovely.
That's beautiful.
Gosh, that is so delicately done.
Yeah.
Great job.
Again, finished art.
Very well.
Look at that.
Oh,
at
Addie,
Addie.
Ooh, Addie's back for a live episode.
good job, Addie.
That veil is beautifully rendered. I mean,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
so
seriously.
subtle.
Very well done.
Oh, that's
Oh,
nice.
that's great.
Wow, that's nice too.
Very cool.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, very nice.
Good
one.
job.
There we go. Oh
Ooh,
wow.
that's cool.
That-
That's awesome.
Wow.
That is a
That
great
bottom,
page
that
there.
bottom left.
Yes.
Love it.
That is nice.
That's the
Love
one.
it.
That's the one. That bottom left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is nice.
Really good
Yeah.
job.
There's kind of a Corbin feel to it.
Yeah.
It's
it
got a
totally
pain
is.
feel to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice.
Love it.
nice. Brent.
Good job.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
That is
that's
awesome.
really cool.
Oh, that's terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, Nicole.
Oh yeah, Nicole. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, a lot of this one.
Oh, that's nice, Nicole. I like that one.
Good job.
Leslie.
Nice, Leslie.
Oh, Leslie.
Cool.
Here we go.
It's fun.
Ooh, Paul.
There you
Oh,
go, Paul.
Really
hey,
good.
Chris, Paul was our winner of our stamp.
Oh, Excellent.
Also, in my opinion, personally, I'm not saying this doesn't mean he's the winner, but personally, I think he has the best suggestion so far on the new name.
Yeah,
What is it?
give that one a heart if you have one left. I really like that drawing.
I got one. I'm not gonna give it out. I'm not gonna give out the name right now because I don't want it. I don't want to mess up the.
You don't throw people off with like.
Don't do that.
I don't want to throw people off. I don't
Ooh,
want.
Charlotte, good
Ooh.
one.
That's nice.
Love the blues in that. Ooh, another nice
you-
one.
I
Yep.
do want to remind people as we're going through these, we are changing the name. It's gonna happen in 2023. We want it to be a good name. Please, if
That's fine.
you have a couple minutes, because John, we thought about this a million times, and our brains are just like, it's hard to like step away, you know? And so it's really fun to hear people like from outside think about it. So please, we love it. This is from last week. Yep.
What a great night,
There we
everybody.
go.
Great job, everyone. Really great
Chris-
job.
Cassandra, Bill, Ray, Chris, Timmy, thank you all for tonight. This was really fun. Fun drawing with everybody. Everybody that joined us. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and one last note, if you listen to The Lonely Palette, the next episode is on Caravaggio and it's sponsored by Visual Arts Passage.
Ooh, awesome. I'll
So
definitely
I
check it
think
out.
that
Nice.
That's this week, so check it out.
Let's
yeah.
hear about some
And
angry
we all know what's
Caravaggio.
going on at Visual Arts Passage, right?
Yeah.
Now we know. Okay.
All right, have a nice night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Night.
Thank you,
Thanks.
everyone.
Here, good to see everybody.
Bye.
Great to see you, Chris.
All right, thanks so much, gang.